This is a call to arms, in my opinion, to bring marijuana and hemp together at least. That the MSOs shouldn't be fighting us, the Trulieve and the Curaleafs and the GTIs who are all playing around in this beverage space and had gummies out there of hemp. We should join forces to figure out how to fight pharma properly. And then alcohol, if they want their beverage lane, they got to jump on board today. The consumer today, their span of interest of anything lasts 30 seconds to a minute, right? There's nothing better than your mental health these days. Kids are going to see therapists. They're taking daily vitamins. They're eating supplements. They're eating healthy. They're drinking less. They're buying everything online. Why the hell do you want to keep an antiquated system that, sure, you've made a lot of money on? Just join in and own a part of this new thing. Seems simple to me.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another Cannabis Accounting Podcast. Today, I have with me Art Massolo, a cannabis industry veteran and the owner-founder of Big Hug Strategy. Based out of Colorado, kind of came on my in my peripherals from the hemp beverage space. But then after chatting with you, I could just tell with your background from kind of alcohol and sales and having seen that kind of companies grow and scale, having seen it again with hemp beverage, I feel like you come with a bit of perspective and background. Like you said, you got a lot of knowledge in that big noggin of yours. But for those who don't know you, Art, I'll kick it over to you to just introduce yourself.
Hey, nice to meet you again, Ray. Here in Boulder, Colorado. Lovely day out here. A little bit of smoke, I think, for some fires out there, unfortunately. But thanks for having me on this. Art Massolo. I've been an alcohol industry veteran for, 30 some odd years now. I founded Viña Conosur in Chile in 1993, Viña Trivento in 1995. Those are both 10 million case producers of wine. My expertise based on that beginning of my career between the ages of 21 and 30 were basically global expansion of distribution and retail of the wine industry. That continued into a thriving consultancy that I've had for many years now. My latest gig was at Cycling Frog, a brand that really boomed over the last 4 years. I believe we became one of the top 5 beverage brands in the nation, selling Delta-9 THC beverages to major retail through alcohol distribution channels, traditional retail, vape, smoke shop, independent, and D2C. I also became the president of the US Hemp Roundtable during that time. So I started doing my first iterations of advocacy on the Hill and state by state. As I said, a lot of knowledge up here in this noggin because, man, I still, even though I'm not the president of the US Hemp Roundtable anymore, I'm still advising companies on regulatory pathways moving forward for this ever-changing and frustrating and hopefully one day will become a solidified industry in the world, the cannabis space.
Nice. No, it is frustrating, but entertaining though, for sure. It's never boring. There's always something new to figure out, but yeah, it can get tiring at times. I know I have a few questions, but just based on what you said, just thinking about the wine in the 90s and early 2000s, I feel like wine went through a transition where, like, when I was growing up, it wasn't that common, or it was just thought of as a little bit more pretentious. But for sure, in my lifetime, wine it became a lot more of a normal, drinking thing. I'm from Wisconsin. Maybe that's what it was. 90s in Wisconsin, not a lot of people drank wine. But I feel like now it's everywhere.
Riuniti on ice. So nice. That's probably what your parents were drinking.
Wine coolers back in the day. But
wine
that was
coolers.
Of just the changing of wine's perception, but also going online. Like when I think of wine, I feel like I used to get a lot of my wine online from nakedwines.com. So I guess, did you have any experience with just being in one industry from the 90s through to the 2000s? Did the internet change how you did your job? What was it like living through that, serving wines?
No, not really. It just became another revenue platform for the wine industry. Globally, there really aren't existing 3-tier systems in most other countries. So this is a very protected country with the second tier having legally defined rules as to how they need to be part of the entire distribution. So I believe that there's constant fighting between the wine, beer, and spirits industry and actually D2C sales online. But thankfully, consumers can now access wines online, which is fantastic. My strength was always in major retail, putting together deals with the Walmarts and the Costcos and the Krogers, Tesco's, Sainsbury's, Ito Yokodas in Japan, Dairy Farm in Hong Kong and Taiwan, and more of a global perspective. Wine is going through a really hard time right now. I believe they're anywhere between 5 to 15% over the last 3 to 5 years in volume. Certain companies are doing well, including the parent company of my first brand, Connoisseur. Concha y Toro is still killing it, which is amazing, really high-end wines. But yeah, listen, the secret of the wine industry is that about 70% of the entire wine industry is sold under $12 a bottle. It's a massive global market. Franzia and Barefoot are the two biggest wine brands in the country, right? And those are, that's bag and box and cans and a couple of other things. And, wines could be from anywhere. They really hit a profile that's sweet and simple. And so that's why hemp THC beverages have become, I think, so important to the alcohol industry, because the lack of alcohol consumption is really affecting an entire community of thousands and thousands of individuals here in the United States and globally. As people get healthier, become more aware of health and wellness issues, want to wake up in the morning without a hangover, they're looking for alternatives. They're getting a hell of a lot smarter than we were when we were young. I've been advocating and pushing and trying to convince as many human beings from the alcohol space that THC is a pivot. It's an adjacent to. It is, in my opinion, a health and wellness product rather than an inebriant. Sure, you get high and sure you feel different, but it's a very different buzz than you get from being drunk. And plus the health benefits of consuming THC. There's not one instance in the entire history of humanity that anybody's overdosed from THC use. And so that, compared to only THC use, obviously if you mix it with other drugs and alcohol and things like that, you can get pretty crazy. Yeah, Ben, the fact is the alcohol industry's a great social lubricant, right? But it also is very dangerous and kills millions of people a year around the world.
It's such a catch-22. It's like the funnest thing is socializing with friends at an event, doing something. I was just at a sauna with some friends yesterday, but then there's also usually alcohol involved in it. So it's like, it's meant to be social, but it's also like, we know it's not good for us. And so but then cannabis came along and hemp, because it blew my mind, where I was like, wait, you can catch a buzz, but it's not with alcohol, but it's through liquids. Like, just so naive. I'm like, huh. And even when I was 16 and people in Wisconsin started drinking pretty young, it's like, I never did, because I was like, I don't being drunk because you black out. It's way better to just smoke weed and party, because then you remember the whole party and you might have a chance to get lucky. Alcohol, like that, I never liked that high. And so it's like, and it was until years later until I got into college, I was like, okay, I'll try this alcohol thing a bit more. But it was always like, I like socializing just with cannabis. Like, once I realized you could drink your cannabis, I was like, why don't we put all drugs in liquids? People like standing around drinking things anyways. Why just put alcohol in then? So I don't know, like, it literally made me laugh. I was like, why did we decide this? Alcohol is the only thing that goes into these, or sugar water or water. And then it's like, now we're to this new utopia of nootropics and other adaptogens. It's, oh no, you can put other things in the liquid, not just alcohol, humans.
Yeah.
That being said, let's transfer a little bit to my next question. I know it is near and dear to your heart. So I guess, like, why do you think, of course it is a pivot for alcohol, but for some of the other just big picture, like, how is big alcohol thinking about hemp beverage? Like, do they think it as like or is it like a logical pivot? Are they doing it begrudgingly? Like, how do they think about it?
It's very new. I think Cycling Frog launched at the end of 2021, and then tons of other brands came in. I think there's probably 650 plus brands out there in the US market right now. Obviously, the dispensary recreational market started off with brands like Keef and Can and Calexo and groups like that. Over the years, once hemp-derived THC popped up, all of those companies either stayed in playing both lanes or pivoted into the hemp space, because that got us into where human beings are used to buying things. And so would you rather be on a grocery shelf or in a C-store or anywhere you can buy alcohol and buy a THC product, or do you need to go in and show your ID twice to get into a dispensary to get your drink? That was the game. That was it. Alcohol guys, my first distributor meetings were at MBWA, the National Brewery Wholesale Association convention, I think in 2022. And one company out of all the companies that came by and said, what the hell is this product with THC in it, Cycling Frog, blah, blah, blah. basically said no. And one company out of New York was like, hell yeah, let's go for it. And that kind of opened the floodgates. Now in Wisconsin, Cycling Frog and other brands are being distributed by Miller Coors and Anheuser-Busch distribution network. Big names that you would know. It's sold in big retail that you know. It's everywhere. What is big alcohol doing with this? That is a great question, Ray. The problem today is that the supply side of alcohol, the spirits brands, beer brands, and wine brands are not very involved in any part of this, of the hemp space, which is unfortunate because they, one, are the businesses that could take advantage of a 10, 20, 30, 50% of their business becoming a THC product as people drink less alcohol. They'd have a pivot into another revenue model, but they are not advocating for it either. And so distributors are also divided. The WSWA, the Wine and Spirits Wholesaler Association, are in favor and in support of the hemp-derived Delta-9 THC drinks, and the National Brewery Wholesaler Association are not. Then you have the retail.
It's a very divisive.
It's not just divisiveness. I think that there's a divide amongst the power players in the alcohol industry. And I won't name all of them because there's really heavy hitters that may listen to this or may not. They know who they are. They influence the boards of these associations greatly. And so while half of the beer distributors of the MBWA love what we do, the other half don't.
It's almost like misaligned incentives if you look at it one way, but if you look at it the other way, it's like the incentives are pretty aligned. It's if you just want to, because I just think of the flavor profile of a Merlot or like an IPA, and it's like you could figure out a way to get THC into an IPA or a Merlot, and so people can still enjoy your product without the alcoholic hangover and like effects of that. So
the real answer is to de-alcoholize the spirits, take the alcohol out, put other molecules in there that are healthier, give it the same flavor profile, taste profile, feeling, the same pomp and circumstance of pouring it over a nice thick thing of ice, all the way to the wine industry to de-alcohol that and make a nice rosé with some THC in it instead of alcohol. All of a sudden, humans don't need to change their taste preferences, but hey, they have an option. If you're 21 plus, you should be able to make up your own damn mind on how you want to consume your inebriates.
Yep.
Just saying.
And it is interesting. I think the flavor profiles will become a unique thing. But before we get too much into the products, I guess I do just have, like a question too, from your perspective, because I know you're pretty well versed on it, of just like the hemp companies that have beverages versus the cannabis companies that have beverages. Where do you see them getting it wrong? Like, is there a way for them to work together? I guess, like, are they still fighting? I guess that's my initial question. Or have they kind of combined forces where they're like, hey, this is better for both of us to not have hemp become illegal in November, more or less? So that's kind of where I'm getting the question from. There's
the hemp, cannabis, the marijuana-based beverage companies are all doing hemp Delta-9 THC hemp drinks. So they're not the folks that are against it. It's typically the big MSOs who also played around and do continue to sell hemp drinks that are playing both sides. So listen, I think that November 13th, if I were to close my eyes and there's no pathway forward on a regulatory platform for any hemp products, I believe that state laws trump federal laws when it comes to products that state wants to have. So there could theoretically be a hemp market with Delta-9 THC in it. Through, I believe, Minnesota is the first market to do this, that both hemp and marijuana have to go through the metric system, but you can also sell the hemp beverages could still continue to sell through the alcoholic beverage regulatory platform, even though it's tested through metric. And then also that allows marijuana companies to also be able to sell that THC in drinks in Minnesota. So I believe that there's a pathway for state by state licensing, which, as we know, is an absolute pain in the ass and is not the way any company has ever been grown or made or started. To have a fractured, it's like making milk from cows in Wisconsin to be sold in Wisconsin only.
Yep. Yeah. Then we wouldn't have delicious cheese all around the world.
only you Wisconsinites could eat your own cheese, man.
No, I hear you. Okay, we don't have the answers for the hemp thing. We'll keep working through that as the companies keep working through that. But switching gears a little bit to Big Hug Strategies, because I know you were deeply involved with Cycling Frog, but you talked to tons of other hemp brands and just brands in general. And so from that perspective, just can you talk a little bit about the main problems Big Hug Strategies is helping its clients solve today? Or what was the business thesis? I know it's been around for a while, but I guess, kind of recently.
Yeah, so folks bring me on as their interim chief sales officer or CEO or whatever it might be. In the case of Cycling Frog, I was their head of business development. So I've recently been helping companies put together their summer programming, make sure that there's enough incentive for the retailers and the distributors to actually make some money, get products going. And so my clients are already moving through that really well at the moment. Regulatory advice, I'm deeply involved in working to save this industry or at least give us serious guardrails. I think that having somebody who's not necessarily an employee of any one company with my background I seem to be a trusted partner for both the folks that I need to convince on the alcohol side, the marijuana side, and all this other stuff. We got to just work together. The fact that as we live in a capitalistic society here in the United States, it's getting worse and worse. It's all about me and how much money we can make and all this power and all this stuff, which isn't necessarily the right pathway to happiness or success, as we well know. And I have been only trying to bring the community together over the past 8 years that I've been in this industry, really trying to build bridges between those businesses and tobacco, pharma, alcohol, marijuana, hemp. How can we provide the consumer these products properly? And if we're not working together, Ray, I'm sorry to say, but there's some pharma companies out there listening to you right now, those guys are on our heels today. I know that the California guys keep on telling me that they've been worried about pharma for about 14 years now, but now's a really great opportunity for pharma to come in and synthesize THC and say, why do we need the plant?
Yeah. No,
if you did Epidiolex, which happened 8 years ago when the Farm Bill passed, and I believe surpassed $1 billion in revenue last year with 130,000 patients. If you're pharma and you look at those numbers, there's this VER01 drug that's about to be launched by a German pharmaceutical company, which is for back pain. Pain medication globally is a whole other stratosphere of numbers. So if you're selling GLP-1s as a pharma company, your market cap has increased 3 to 4 times over the past 4 years. You got all the money in the world. We happen to be in a transactional government right now. You can put the math together.
It is very interesting what could happen over the next 2 years, because it is like just got back from Berlin, ICBC, and I've been going there for 3 years, just learn about the market. And at first it didn't make sense. And then the second year I was like, okay, I can see how, because in my mind, I thought we had it figured out. It's Trojan horse with medical, then bring in adult use. That's how you drive revenues. We always see an increase in revenues when a state goes from medical to adult use. But then like by this last year, my third year, I'm like, okay, I actually see the revenues medical can do, and like how that's a different game when insurance covers it. And like, it's actually more of a patient count game. Of course, you can always do adult use and you'll figure it out. But like medical is global supply chains. Like it's going to be medical, at least for, I would say, a little bit longer. So no, it's what brings in all.
I mean, I'm basically begging the big alcohol industry. I'm warning them that they need to get involved today rather than wait, because if they want to own any part of THC, they got to get in the game today. And listen, pharma taking over THC and offering it through doctors and prescribed through pharmacies does not change any part of the black market. It just makes it much more intense. If they think, or if the world thinks that all these people making a hell of a ton of money on cannabis products, including hemp-based Delta-9 THC, THCP, THCO, HHC, you name all those cannabinoids, people are making a lot of money, and there's going to be some risk takers that will never get caught. and they'll continue to go.
No, definitely. It's an interesting. I know somebody told me the stat that even once they legalize alcohol after prohibition, it still took 30 or 40 years of people making moonshine. They had bootleggers, and it was very normal in society. And I'm like, huh. Even if federally we legalize medical psychedelics, we're going to have 30 to 40 years of a continued illicit black market. And I was like, yeah, that checks out. So many people are used to it. And it's still much cheaper because they don't have to pay taxes and a lot of other fees that we pay in the legal market. And so
just look at how does the rec market work today? Or is everybody in the rec market really happy? Or is everybody being paid?
Everybody was happy when investors were lending them money for 15 to 2021. But now it's like everybody's, why did I ever switch? No, it's a unique thing to this industry that we can even talk openly about.
Listen, the fact of the matter is that we need to have, if the plant is to remain, there needs to be a one plant answer where we regulate the molecule THC. It should have different lanes for CPG 21 plus. Theoretically, beverages should go into that TTB market, but there should be topicals and tinctures and gummies and everything else that the FDA should manage. But people over the age of 21 should have the possibility to buy something that doesn't kill you. That's where I keep on going back to, Ray. It's like,
no, that makes sense, especially from your background. You're like, I was in an industry where, trust me, this could kind of hurt you if you didn't use it with respect. This is something that has actual medical benefits. From that perspective, because you have spent a lot of time with different brands and whatnot, you've been in the cannabis industry for 8 years. How are they changing their positioning or branding to be, instead of more focused on the adult use, maybe more the health and wellness? Not full-blown medical, but I use this for a specific purpose. Have you seen things change over the last 8 years from your perspective?
I started off with Mile High Labs here in Boulder in 2017, and I think we're selling kilos of CBD isolate at $9,000 a kilo, right? Next year it was at 1,000 or 800, and now it's at about 250, 300. So it's a commodity. The Mitch McConnell language in the law that has passed through the appropriations bill last November causes an absolute breakdown of all the hemp industry, cannabinoid players, Ray. It's really unfortunate. I know so many of these companies who are going to have to, either they're pivoting now into other compounds and things in the more traditional space, which is already overrun by other products, that from supplements to vitamins to all this other stuff. So I feel really sorry for the companies that are staying with it now. For hemp companies, I think that they can pivot into the cannabis space pretty easily. The cannabis players, Pharma doesn't give two shits about, sorry for swearing, two shits about the rec market. They really don't. They would rather, I would think that they would, nobody seems to have provided a solution for what to do with flower, right? Where to sell it, how to sell it, if Pharma owns the thing, right? It's really, they could care less about flower. And that's the thing that, that's the problem. The THCA flower right now is being sold everywhere in Wisconsin. Every corner in Wisconsin has a dispensary with THCA flower in it and gummies and everything else.
They're selling them for cannabis prices. So it's a very interesting time to be like, they don't have to pay for licensing. The city's kind of going away, but for the last 4 or 5 years, like they were kind of not worried about addressing it. And then like, it's to the point now where they used to have hemp derived, like hemp something, and now they just dropped the hemp and they just call it THC. And to the point where like most people, like I'm in the industry, so I know where the license are, and I'm like, zero. There's no medical or adult use licenses. But if you talk to my cousin or my aunts, they're just like, yeah, I think we legalized weed. I can get it in Green Bay now.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah,
it's right down the street.
No, they didn't. These are hemp products. I just stop even correcting people. I'm just like, dude, I'm busy. I'm trying to objectively run these cannabis companies right now. We'll figure out some type of legal thing, but we're like running right now. But you can't just put your head down because like policy's changing, new people are entering. So it's
and listen, the fact of the matter is the THCA and synthetics are the ones making all the money.
They sell millions of dollars worth of products, and so
millions a month they're selling online. I have friends making tons of money doing this. How are you going to stop that? The supply, if you have a grow of hemp, you don't need that much hemp to extract THC from that 0.3. Makes millions and millions of milligrams of THC for the content that you're providing for your customers. I'd be worried. I think that this is a call to arms, in my opinion, to bring marijuana and hemp together at least. that the MSOs shouldn't be fighting us, the Trulieve and the Curaleafs and the GTIs who are all playing around in this beverage space and had gummies out there of hemp. We should join forces to figure out how to fight to fight pharma properly. And then alcohol, if they want their beverage lane, they got to jump on board today.
That would be wild if big beverage became one of the largest sellers of like health and wellness beverages in the world. And after like decades and decades of selling beer and spirits, kind of come to Jesus moment. They kind of write in the sins of their past.
Listen, Ray, in my opinion, would be for the consumer today, who's all their span of interest of anything lasts 30 seconds to a minute, right? So there's nothing better than your mental health these days. Kids are going to see therapists. My parents made fun of me when I wanted to go see a therapist back when I was younger, right? Now all the kids are seeing therapists. They're taking daily vitamins. They're eating supplements. They're eating healthy. They're drinking less. They're buying everything online. Why the hell do you want to keep an antiquated system that sure you've made a lot of money on? Just join in and own a part of this new thing. Seems simple to me.
It's like you come from like a sales background, and so I feel like you see things of the logic of a salesperson. We're all trying to eat here and provide value, and we can only do that if we get this product to that person who wants it. So I guess just thinking from like that perspective of like you've seen alcohol companies figure it out, thinking through just even cannabis beverage companies, because like I think beverage as a consumable will continue regardless of how it plays out. But I guess what are some cannabis and hemp beverage companies getting right from the branding side of like they're going to be around for a while, and what do some of them get wrong just purely from like a branding and sales perspective? And maybe it is their distribution. Like if they can't figure that out, it doesn't matter how much they get their demographic right. But what are your thoughts?
Well, from somebody who comes from having a frog riding a penny farthing, an old bicycle, I can tell you that images that are attractive to children, as they say, are an issue. So those folks who got on the simplified label process have won out pretty well, right? Not too many images on it. Keep it simple, stupid. I think that those companies like Keef Brands here in Colorado, I think they've been pretty smart as to how they've worked this. They've worked the hemp industry while they have licenses, and I think 19 states now to sell their THC drinks in the rec market. So they can do both. And then you have, I'm not too sure whether Keef has entered in the adaptogen market or anything like that. Companies like Breeze launched adaptogenic drinks into lots of places. And I think that you'll see over the next 5 to 6 months, some of these brands selling mushroom stuff, kava stuff, kratom stuff, kana stuff, Blue Lotus stuff, maybe GABA stuff, anything to give some sort of a buzz. Yeah.
And again, it comes back to my theory of like, somehow we just all thought alcohol is the only thing that can go in liquids for a buzz for decades. And it's, you can mushrooms, you can drink cannabis, you can drink lots of things that are like good for you, make you feel good, make you relax. Cause that's, again, it's like people, we're not so much searching the high. You're searching like interacting with people and a feeling of wellness. It's like, I don't want to feel messed up and disoriented. I just want to feel relaxed and at peace. Yeah. I digress. Okay. No, that's interesting. We have talked about the future quite a bit. We talked about kind of the differences between hemp products and cannabis products, and if they fight together, what could work out, what could not work out. So I guess just thinking about the future and going forward a little bit, Art, what are some things that beverages need to get right in order to be a success? And we're talking from the perspective of a beverage company. So going forward, like what are some things that a beverage company, whether it's hemp beverage or cannabis beverage, needs to get right to be around and be scaling in the next 3 to 5 years?
Oof. Man, that's a tough question. I wish I had a crystal ball, man. I have a lot of people asking me what's going to happen with regulation after November 12th. And I don't know. I've always
these questions are hard to answer until after we get through the rest of this year.
Right. I always say 50-50 at the moment. One, there's plenty of folks, US Hemp Roundtable, HIFA, CABA, Hemp Beverage Alliance, other organizations. There's a couple of others out there that go online, sign up to send letters out to your congressmen and legislators. Lots of advocacy. is what is needed. Unfortunately, there's no bill behind which we can get behind at the moment. And so once there is a bill to get behind, we need to convince 218 folks in Congress to vote positively on it. And I think now we have 38 or 40. So that's going to be a super heavy lift. Super heavy lift. You're dealing with religious right-wing folks who think that, weed is devil's lettuce, right? They still think that.
Yeah.
You've got, it's funny, Kentucky's a fantastic way of looking at this. The bourbon industry is based in Kentucky, and a lot of hemp farming is based in Kentucky, right? But the bourbon industry trumps the hemp industry by billions, right? And so where do you think the power lays on the legislative side? Thankfully, we have people like Comer and Andy Barr and several others who are on our side, who are lots of sponsors in the bourbon industry as well. And they're on the bourbon boards, but they're also really representing hemp. There's also the fact that there's a big difference between cannabinoid hemp and industrial hemp. Industrial hemp, I believe we could all agree that should be planted in every state in copious amounts. One, for the extraction of carbon emissions out of our air. Two, that it doesn't take up any water, right? You don't need water to grow this stuff. Three, you can make biofuels, plastics, clothing, paper, and pulp. You can do everything out of this beautiful plant. So the fact that there isn't this love of the plant that consumers are like, hey, I don't want to suck stuff out of the ground from,
they're beautiful.
Yeah, billions of years of fossils sitting in the ground of our ancestors that we're using to fill up our cars. Why don't we just do it from this plant as we save the world? So anyways, that pisses me off. And then, of course, you have the cannabinoid stuff, which, as I said, doesn't kill you. Let's figure out what the endocannabinoid system does. Let's get this stuff going. I believe the Israelis have been working, for 17, 18 years on clinical trials. Share that with us, guys. Can you please send us some information to our legislators to educate them that this is all goodness? So I would say that some very dear friends in the alcohol industry told me this when I started really advocating for the plant. Said, the alcohol industry has still lobbies. I think there was 95 amendments to bills this year that the alcohol industry put forth to change things around. We're 95 years into this. So if we think that 17 years or 14, I don't know how long exactly the marijuana has been around for them, from that long. Hemp has been around for 7 or 8 years now. We thought we were in the first inning 8 years ago with hemp, but we're still in the first inning.
Nice. That's why I try to take it slow. Cause I remember thinking that in 2015, I was outside Denver, got to grow, checking it out. I'm like, dude, I can see the skyline. We are no longer in some clandestine grow in middle of fucking nowhere, upper Michigan. This is going to be legal everywhere. Might be in the second inning. And it's like, we're still in the first inning. So I'm calming down in my old age. I take things slow. I'm like, just enjoy your life, live a good life, try to contribute value, but you can't move the whole industry in a day. Rome wasn't built in a day.
Right.
So we're definitely still in the first inning. I agree with you. Yeah. Man, Art, it was a pleasure. Where can people find you the rest of 2026? I'll have your information and everything in the call notes.
Great.
We'll find you and get a hold of you.
Great. Yep. You can call me at 786-942-1347. And my email is art@bighugstrategies.com. I'd love to talk to you. See if you need any help.
Before I blow up your inbox, do you want people contacting you? Are you open
for
business? Or are you at capacity?
Listen, I'm available to at least have that initial conversation. I believe that we all need to be working together. And I believe if you ask people about me and how I affected what just happened in this hemp THC space over the last 4 years, I'm very proud of the fact that I opened up my book, my Rolodex, to everybody and tried to help out as many people in the community as possible. And that's why, along with other folks in the community, we have shelf space.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you so much, Art. Until next time, you have a good one.
Thank you. Thanks, Raymond.